Admiral Taewon Park stood at the large window of Earth Space Command. His eyes were fixed on the strange ships hanging in the sky. 6 of them. Huge metal things that looked like giant arrowheads. They had come 3 weeks ago. "Sir," the alien. "Delegates are ready," said Lieutenant J, who stood behind him. Taewon nodded but didn't turn around. "How many dead from the London incident?" 12, sir. All from the panic, not from anything the aliens did." Taewon finally turned. His face was tired. At 56, he had seen many things in his life. Wars between nations, peace treaties, the forming of the United Earth government 10 years ago, but never aliens. "Let's not have any more deaths," he said, walking toward the meeting room. "Human or alien?" The meeting room was large. One side held the human team, Taewon, Dr. Soo-min Lee, General Ha-jun, and Commander Ji-ho Kim, who led Earth's First Contact Division. On the other side sat 3 of the aliens who called themselves the Kavari. They looked almost human, but wrong in small ways. Their skin was pale blue. Their eyes were too large. Their fingers had 1 extra joint. They wore simple white suits that seemed to glow slightly. "We welcome this continued dialogue," said the middle Kavari. Its name, as best as humans could say it, was Krell. "Our peoples have much to share." Ji-ho nodded politely. In the 3 weeks since first contact, he had worked day and night with his team to understand the Kavari language. Progress had been fast, surprisingly fast. The Kavari seemed eager to help. "We are particularly interested in your faster-than-light travel," said Dr. Soo-min Lee. She was Earth's top physicist, pulled from her university to help with the alien meeting. Such technology would change everything for us. "Of course," said Krell. "We will share all we can. We believe in open exchange between friendly species." General Ha-jun shifted in his seat. He didn't trust the aliens, Taewon knew this. But the general kept quiet during these meetings. That was their agreement. After 2 hours of talks about technology exchange, medical knowledge, and possible trade, the meeting ended. The Kavari returned to their ship using their transport beam. Another technology that amazed the Earth scientists. "They're hiding something," Ha-jun said as soon as the aliens left. "You always think someone is hiding something," said Soo-min. "Because they usually are." Ha-jun looked at Taewon. "You see it too, don't you? They answer every question too perfectly. They're too helpful." Ji-ho spoke up. "Maybe they're just a kind species. Not everyone thinks like military men." Taewon said nothing. He had his own worries but didn't want to share them yet. Instead, he said, "Let's focus on what we know, not what we guess." Late that night, Taewon sat alone in his office. He was looking at Kavari transmission data. His background before becoming admiral was in signals intelligence. Something in the alien communications bothered him. There were patterns that didn't match their spoken language, hidden signals buried in the normal transmissions. He had asked Ji-ho about them, but the commander had brushed off his concerns. "Sir?" Taewon looked up. Colonel Dae Jung-yoon stood in the doorway. He was Taewon's most trusted officer. "You should sleep, sir. It's 3 a.m. "Come look at this," Taewon said instead. Dae Jung walked over and studied the screen showing signal patterns. "These spikes here," Taewon pointed. "They happen every time the Kavari ships communicate with each other, but not when they talk to us." "A different language for private talk?" Dae Jung suggested. "Maybe, or codes. Military codes." Dae Jung frowned. "You think they're not peaceful?" "I think we need to be careful." Taewon rubbed his tired eyes. The United Earth Council is so excited about alien contact that they're not being smart. They've already invited the Kavari to place atmospheric research devices around the planet. What do these devices do? The Kavari say they study air patterns to help with climate change. The Council believes them. But you don't. Taewon sighed. "I want to. It would be nice to believe in friendly aliens who want to help us, but in my life I've found that when something seems too good to be true, it usually is." The next morning, Taewon presented his concerns to the United Earth Council. 12 people who represented Earth's regions sat at a round table. They listened, but he could see they didn't believe him. "Admiral Park," said Counselor Chen, "these patterns could be anything. Maybe it's how their technology works, maybe it's nothing." "We should delay the atmospheric device placement," Taewon insisted, "just until we know more." "Delay?" Counselor Patel frowned. "The devices might help solve our climate crisis. We can't delay because of some signal patterns you don't understand. We need to be careful." "No," interrupted Counselor Mbeki. "We need to be open and trusting. This is humanity's great moment. First contact with an alien species. We will not ruin it with old military thinking." Taewon looked around the table. He saw no support in their eyes. "Thank you for your input, Admiral," said the council leader. "We will proceed as planned." 3 days later, Taewon stood in front of a wall of screens in the command center. Each screen showed a different city: New York, Beijing, Cairo, Sydney, Rio, London, Mumbai, Lagos. The Kavari had placed 20 of their devices in Earth's atmosphere that morning. They now hung like small moons visible in the day sky. "All normal, sir," reported Lieutenant J. "The devices are just sitting there like the Kavari said they would." Taewon nodded but couldn't shake his feeling of dread. He had ordered all military bases to full alert despite the council telling him not to. Some commanders had listened. Others thought he was overreacting. His private phone buzzed. It was Su Min. "I found something," she said, her voice low and worried. "About the devices, I need to show you in person." "Where are you?" "My lab at the university." "Come quickly." Taewon was about to leave when alarms started blaring. Every screen in the command center flashed red. "Sir," shouted Lieutenant J. "The devices, they're opening." Taewon stared at the screens. The Kavari atmospheric devices were indeed opening like flowers. From each came a fine mist that spread quickly through the air. "What is that?" "Get me answers now," Taewon ordered. Reports flooded in within minutes. People falling in the streets, mass panic, death. "It's some kind of bioweapon," said the medical officer, her face pale with shock. "It targets human DNA. People are dying within minutes of exposure." Taewon grabbed the emergency communication system. "All forces, this is Admiral Park. The Kavari are hostile. Shoot down those devices immediately. This is not a drill. The aliens are attacking Earth." But it was too late. The mist had already spread through major cities. Death counts rose by the second. 1 million, 10 million, 100 million. Taewon tried to reach Su Min, but all communications to her area were down. He ordered all available forces to attack the Kavari ships, but the aliens had expected this. Hidden weapons on their vessels activated, destroying Earth's military satellites and bases. By nightfall, Earth was in chaos. The Kavari ships now moved freely through the atmosphere, dropping more bioweapons. The death toll had reached 1 billion and was still climbing. In an underground bunker, Taewon met with the surviving military leaders. "Why?" asked General Hajun, his voice hollow. "Why do this?" "Resources, maybe," said Colonel Daejung. "Or, they just want our planet." Taewon looked at the reports still coming in. So much death. So much destruction, all because they had trusted too easily. "It doesn't matter why," he said finally. His voice was cold and hard. "What matters is what we do now." "What can we do?" someone asked. "They're too powerful." Taewon looked at each person in the room. "We fight. Not as the civilized people we thought we were, not with rules or mercy." His eyes were like stone. "They came to wipe us out. So we stop playing civilized. We become what we need to be to survive." No one spoke for a long moment. Then Hajun nodded slowly. "We become monsters to fight monsters," he said. "No," Taewon corrected. "We become something worse than monsters. We become the nightmare that haunts their dreams. We become humanity with nothing left to lose." Outside, the world burned. But in that bunker, something new was born. Humanity's terrible resolve to survive at any cost. 6 months after the Kavari attack, Earth was a different place. Cities that once held millions now stood empty. Fields that once grew food were burned and dead. The air in many places was still not safe to breathe. But humans still lived. Deep, underground in old bunkers and caves and hidden bases, people survived. They were no longer nations or countries. They were just humans fighting to live. In a large bunker under what was once Seoul, General Hai-Jin Kang looked at the people gathered around the metal table. These were the leaders of what remained of Earth's forces. 15 men and women, tired and hard-faced. 6 months of running and hiding had changed them all. "Report," Hai-Jin said, his voice rough from lack of sleep. Colonel Min-seo stood up. She had once been pretty, with long hair and a quick smile. Now her hair was cut short, and she never smiled. "The Kavari have set up bases in every major city," she said. "They're using our buildings, our roads, our power plants. They seem to like Earth just the way it is, but without us." "How many of them?" asked Captain Sang-hoon, a young man with a burn scar across his face. "Not as many as we first thought," Min-seo replied. "Maybe 1 million total. They don't need many to hunt us. Their technology does most of the work." Hai-Jin nodded slowly. 1 million aliens against what? Maybe 2 billion humans left alive? The numbers should be in humanity's favor. But the Kavari had ships that could fly, weapons that could destroy, whole cities and machines that could find humans hiding underground. "They think they've won," Hai-Jin said. "They believe the war is over, and now they just need to clean up the last of us." "Haven't they won?" asked Dr. Junho, an older man who had once been a university professor. "What can we do against their technology? We can barely feed ourselves." The room went quiet. It was the question they all thought about but rarely said. Out loud. What could they do? How could humans fight back? "We have something new," Hai-Jin said after a moment. "Dr. Yunho, tell them." A small woman stood up from the end of the table. Dr. Yunho Choi had been working at an Antarctic research station when the attack happened. The cold, isolated place had saved her life. "I've been studying the Kavari bioweapon," she said. "The one they used on us." She touched a screen, and a picture appeared on the wall. It showed strange, tiny things that looked like small stars with too many points. "This is what killed 1 billion people in the first day," Yunho said. "It's a virus, but not like any we've seen before. It was made to kill humans only." "We know this," Captain Sang-hoon said impatiently. "How does this help?" "So because," Yunho continued, "I've found something the Kavari didn't want us to know. They're not so different from us. Their DNA, the building blocks of life, is like ours in many ways." She touched the screen again. Now it showed 2 twisted ladder shapes side by side. One was marked human, and one was marked Kavari. "They look alike," said Colonel Min-seo, leaning forward. "Yes," Yunho nodded. "And that means—" She paused, looking around the room. "That means I can make our own bioweapon. One that will kill them, but not us." The room was silent again, but this time it was a different kind of silence. A heavy silence full of dark thoughts. "You're talking about killing all of them," Dr. Junho said finally. "That's genocide." "Yes," Yunho said simply. "Just like they tried to do to us." Major Kyung-mi Han, who had been quiet until now, spoke up. She had once been part of special forces, trained to do the hardest and most secret military jobs. "War has rules," she said. "That's what we were taught. Don't kill civilians. Don't torture. Don't use certain weapons." She looked around the table. "But those are rules we made up when we fought other humans, when both sides wanted to win but not destroy each other completely." She stood up straight, her eyes hard. "The Kavari didn't come here to win a war. They came to kill every human and take our planet. They don't follow any rules." Hai-Jin nodded slowly. "So why should we?" Dr. Junho shook his head. "If we use a bioweapon like theirs, if we try to kill all of them, what does that make us?" "Survivors," said Min-seo flatly. Hai-Jin looked at each person around the table. "We need to be clear about this. What we're talking about isn't just fighting back, it's changing who we are as humans. For all our history, even in our worst wars, we've tried to be civilized. We've tried to have lines we wouldn't cross. He stood up, putting his hands on the table. The Kavari have shown us that being civilized is a luxury. It's something you can afford when your enemy also wants to be civilized. But when they want you dead, all of you, then civilization is a weakness. So what are you saying? Asked Dr. Junho. I'm saying we stop playing by rules they don't follow. I'm saying we do whatever it takes to survive. Heijin's voice was hard but calm. I'm saying we stop playing civilized. The room was quiet as people thought about what this meant. It wasn't just about a bioweapon. It was about becoming something new. Something harder and colder than humanity had ever been before. Finally, Major Kyungmi spoke again. We need more than just a bioweapon. We need a plan to get it to them. To get it to all of them. Haijin nodded. That's why I asked Captain Boram to join us today. A man stepped forward from the shadows of the room. He was thin and had the look of someone who hadn't seen the sun in a long time. Captain Boram was working on deep space missions. Before the attack, Haijin explained. He has an idea. Boram touched the screen. A picture of a small spaceship appeared. We have 3 ships hidden, he said. The Kavari don't know about them because they were in underground hangars for testing. They can reach space. They can even reach the Kavari home planet. You want to take the fight to them? Asked Minseo, sounding surprised. To their world? Yes, Boram said simply. They came here and tried to kill us all. We should return the favor. Dr. Junho stood up, angrily. Do you hear yourselves? You're talking about killing an entire species. They tried to kill our entire species first, Kyungmi said. They still are trying. So we become just like them? Junho asked. Monsters? No. Haijin's voice cut through the argument. We become something worse than monsters. We become what we need to be to survive, to win. He looked around the table again. I'm not ordering anyone to do this. Each of you needs to decide where you stand, what lines you're willing to cross. One by one, the people in the room nodded. Even Dr. Junho, after a long moment, gave a small nod. Then it's decided, Haijin said. We start working on the plan today. The Kavari thought they were fighting a civilized species that would die with dignity. They're about to learn how wrong they were. As the meeting ended, Haijin pulled Dr. Junho aside. How long will it take to make enough of the bioweapon? 3 months, she said. Maybe less if I get more help. You'll get whatever you need, Haijin promised. And the delivery systems? That's Captain Boram's area. But from what he's told me, the ships can be ready in 4 months. Haijin nodded. Then in 4 months we stop hiding. In 4 months the real war begins. Outside the bunker, rain fell on the empty streets of what had once been Seoul. The Kavari walked those streets now, blue-skinned aliens who thought they had won, who thought the humans were beaten. They were wrong. In bunkers and caves and hidden places, the last of humanity was changing, becoming something new, something terrible, something that would show the Kavari what real genocide looked like. Captain Hyunwoo Baek had not seen the sky in 3 months. He had lived underground, training, planning, waiting for this moment. Now he stood in the shadows of a ruined building, watching a Kavari patrol walk by. There were 3 of them. Their blue skin seemed to glow in the moonlight. They carried long, thin weapons and wore what looked like black armor. They were not being careful. Why should they be? They thought they had won. Ready? Whispered Jinsu, who crouched beside Hyunwoo. Hyunwoo nodded. He touched the device on his neck. It was cold metal, shaped like a half moon. When he pressed the small button, pain shot through his body. His skin seemed to bubble and change. In seconds, he looked like a Kavari. Jinsu did the same. Soon, 2 Kavari stood where the humans had been. The disguises were not perfect. They would not fool another Kavari up close. But from a distance, in the dark, they would work. Remember the plan, Hyunwoo said, his voice now making the strange clicking sounds of the Kavari language. The neck device changed his voice too. Get in, plant the bombs, get out. Jinsu nodded. Together they stepped out from the shadows and walked toward the largest building in what used to be downtown Tokyo. It was a tall tower, once a famous landmark. Now it was the main Kavari command center for the Asian region. 2 Kavari guards stood at the entrance. Hyunwoo and Jinsu walked up to them, trying to move the way the aliens moved. "Sector patrol complete," Hyunwoo said in the Kavari language. Dr. Sumin had taught them key phrases before she died. "We are reporting to Commander Trell." The guards looked at them for a moment. Hyunwoo felt sweat on his back, if they looked too closely. But then one guard nodded and stepped aside. "The commander is on level 12, he said. Hyunwoo and Jinsu walked into the building. They had done it. The first step of the plan had worked. Inside the building was full of Kavari technology, strange lights, humming machines, screens showing maps of Earth. Kavari walked around, some in groups, some alone. Hyunwoo and Jinsu took the lift to level 8, not 12. No need to find the commander. They weren't here to kill one Kavari, they were here to kill all of them. On level 8, they found what they were looking for, the central air system. The Kavari had kept the human air conditioning units but had added their own technology. "Guard the door," Hyunwoo told Jinsu. Then he got to work. From his pocket he took out 4 small devices. Bombs, but not normal bombs. These contained Dr. Yunho's bioweapon, a virus made to kill Kavari. Hyunwoo placed the bombs inside the air ducts. He set them to go off in 1 hour. That would give him and Jinsu time to get out and far away. As he worked, Hyunwoo thought about his family. His wife and son had died in the first attack. He had been away, working at a military base that was underground. That was the only reason he had lived. "For you," he whispered as he set the last bomb. "This is for you." Suddenly, Jinsu called from the door. "Someone's coming." Hyunwoo closed the air duct quickly and stood up. A moment later, a Kavari technician walked in. He looked at the 2 disguised humans with surprise. "What are you doing here?" the technician asked. "This area is restricted." "System check," Hyunwoo said, trying to sound calm. "Commander's orders." The technician frowned. "I wasn't told about any system check." He stepped closer, looking at Hyunwoo's face. Too close. The disguise wouldn't work this near. "You're not," the technician began, but he never finished. Jinsu moved fast, the knife in his hand even faster. The technician fell without a sound, blue blood pooling on the floor. "We need to move," Jinsu said. "Now." They left quickly, taking the lift back down. At the entrance, the same guards were still there. They nodded as Hyunwoo and Jinsu walked past. Outside in the darkness, Hyunwoo finally breathed easily again. They had done it. In 1 hour, the virus would spread through the whole building. Every Kavari inside would die. "Let's get to the meeting point," he said. They moved through the ruins of Tokyo, staying in shadows, avoiding Kavari patrols. After 30 minutes, they reached an old subway tunnel where their team was waiting. Colonel Yu-jin greeted them with a nod. "Success?" she asked. "The bombs are set," Hyunwoo confirmed. "They'll go off in about 30 minutes now." Yu-jin smiled. It wasn't a nice smile. "Good. Teams B and C have also been successful. The Kavari command centers in Beijing and Seoul will be hit at the same time." "What about the other cities?" Jinsu asked. "New York, London, Cairo. Other teams, other missions," Yu-jin said. "But yes, they're all happening tonight, the first wave of our attack." Hyunwoo sat down heavily on an old bench. He was tired, but it was more than that. He was feeling something he hadn't felt in months. Hope. "Will it work?" he asked. "Will the virus kill them?" "Dr. Yunho says it will," Yu-jin replied. "Not all at once. It will take time to spread, but yes, it will kill them." No one spoke for a while after that. They were all thinking the same thing. They were committing genocide. They were trying to kill an entire species. "They started this," Jinsu said finally, as if reading their thoughts. "We're just finishing it." Yu-jin nodded. "Exactly, this isn't who we were, it's who they forced us to become." In space, far above Earth, another part of the plan was unfolding. Commander Do-Yun Ryu sat in the captain's chair of the ship Horizon. It was not a big ship. Before the attack, it had been used for short trips to the Moon and Mars. Now it had a new purpose. Status? Do-Yun asked. We're clear of Earth's atmosphere, reported Officer Sunmi. No sign of Kavari detection. Good. Do-Yun looked at the main screen. Earth was getting smaller behind them. Set course for the first Kavari colony world. Maximum speed. The Horizon began to move faster. Do-Yun knew that two other ships, the Phoenix and the Vengeance, were also leaving Earth tonight, each headed for a different Kavari world. Each ship carried multiple containers of Dr. Yunho's bioweapon, enough to kill every Kavari on a planet. Do-Yun had been a peaceful man once, a scientist who believed in exploring space to learn, to grow, to meet new life. Now he was leading a mission. To destroy life, sir? Sunmi's voice broke into his thoughts. Are you okay? Do-Yun looked at her and then at the rest of his small crew. All of them had lost everything to the Kavari. All of them had agreed to this mission knowing they might never return to Earth. I was just thinking about what we're doing, he said, honestly. About what we've become. Sunmi's face hardened. We've become survivors, sir. That's all. Do-Yun nodded slowly. Yes, survivors. And that's what matters now. He turned back to the screen, watching as Earth disappeared from view. It would take them 3 months to reach the first Kavari colony. 3 months to prepare for what they would do there. Back on Earth, Hyunwoo checked his watch. It's time, he said. As if on cue, they heard a distant alarm from the direction of the Kavari command center. Even from here they could see movement. Kavari running, some falling. It's working, Jinsu said, his voice tight with emotion. This is just the beginning, Yujin reminded them. The Kavari will fight back hard now. They'll know we're not beaten. Hyunwoo nodded. Let them come. We're not the same humans they attacked 6 months ago. We're not playing by their rules anymore. In the darkness of the subway tunnel, the survivors of humanity prepared for the next phase of their plan. Above them, the Kavari were learning a hard lesson. When pushed to the edge of extinction, humans would do anything to survive. The counterattack had begun. Supreme Commander Tarvol of the Kavari stood at the window of his ship, looking down at Earth. It had been a beautiful planet when they first arrived. Blue oceans, green lands, white clouds. A perfect new home for the Kavari people. Now parts of it were burning. Smoke rose from what had once been major cities, not from the initial attack that had been clean, precise. This was new damage. Damage from the humans fighting back. Report, Tarvol said, turning to face his officers. Sub-Commander Krell stepped forward. He looked tired. All the Kavari did these days. We have lost contact with 6 more command centers, Krell said. Tokyo, Beijing, Seoul, London, New York, and Cairo all went silent in the last day. The virus? Yes, Supreme Commander. The same bioweapon they used on our bases last month. It spreads quickly through our people, Tarvol hissed in anger. How? How are they doing this? We destroyed their militaries. We killed most of their people. They should be beaten. They are not fighting like any species we have encountered before, said Science Officer Mira. She was older than the others, with pale blue skin that was now almost white. They do not follow any rules of war. What do you mean? Tarvol asked. Normal species, when facing defeat, try to save their civilians. They protect their young. They negotiate terms. Mira's voice was calm but worried. The humans are doing none of this. They are using all their resources to attack us, not to save themselves. Tarvol turned back to the window. They're animals, he said dismissively. Not a true civilization. No, Supreme Commander, Mira said quietly. That is what makes them so dangerous. They were a civilization. They had rules, laws, moral codes. But they have chosen to set those aside. They have chosen to become something else in order to survive. An alarm sounded, cutting off their conversation. A young officer rushed into the room. Supreme Commander, we have detected 3 human ships leaving the solar system. What? Tarvol spun around. That's impossible. We destroyed all their space capabilities. Not all, apparently, Krell said grimly. Where are these ships headed? The young officer looked at his datapad. Based on their trajectories, they appear to be headed toward our colony worlds. The room went silent. Every Kavari there knew what this meant. The humans weren't just fighting to defend their planet anymore. They were taking the war to Kavari, space. They're carrying the bioweapon, Mira said, stating what they all feared. They're going to do to our worlds what we tried to do to theirs. Tarvol's face hardened. Send ships to intercept them. All available vessels. Nothing else matters now. As the officers rushed to carry out his orders, Tarvol remained at the window. For the first time since the invasion began, he felt something, new doubt. On Earth, in the ruins of what had once been Moscow, Major Kyung-mi Han led her team through the snow. There were 12 of them, all wearing white to blend in with the winter landscape. Target in sight, whispered Sergeant Ji-won, pointing ahead. In the distance stood a large dome structure. It was a cavalry landing field, where their smaller ships came down to deliver supplies and troops. It was heavily guarded. Remember the plan, Kyung-mi said to her team. We're not here to fight. We're here to place the devices and leave. Each member of the team carried 3 small disc-shaped objects. They weren't bombs. They were worse. The team split into 4 groups, each taking a different approach to the dome. Kyung-mi went with Ji-won and a young soldier named Taejun. They moved silently through the ruins, getting closer to the Kavari facility. They looked nervous, Ji-won said, watching the Kavari guards through binoculars. They're jumpy, not like before. They're scared, Kyung-mi replied. Good, they should be. The humans had been fighting back for 2 months now, using the bioweapon in Kavari bases, using disguises to get close, setting traps, fighting in ways that the Kavari never expected. Not with honor or rules, but with a cold, deadly focus on one goal: kill all Kavari. Kyung-mi's team reached the edge of the landing field. The Kavari had cleared all buildings around it, creating an open space that would normally be hard to cross, unseen. But the humans had planned for this. Smoke, Kyung-mi ordered. Taejun took out a small device and activated it. A thick, white mist began to pour out, quickly spreading across the open ground. The Kavari guards began shouting in alarm. Now, Kyung-mi said. Fast and quiet. They ran through the smoke, keeping low. The Kavari were firing their weapons now, but they were shooting blind, the energy beams going far over the humans' heads. Kyung-mi reached the outer wall of the dome. She placed her 3 discs at different points, pressing them against the wall where they stuck firmly. The others did the same. Fall back, she ordered once all the discs were placed. They retreated the way they had come, the smoke giving them cover. Behind them, the Kavari were still firing wildly, hitting nothing. When they were safely away, Kyung-mi took out a remote control. With one press of a button, all the discs they had placed activated. They weren't explosive. They were carriers, small, devices that injected the human bioweapon directly into the dome's air filtration system. Mission complete, she said into her radio, returning to base. As they moved through the ruins heading for their hidden transport, Taejun spoke up. Major, can I ask a question? What is it? Kyung-mi didn't slow her pace. Why are the Kavari so afraid of our bioweapon? They have better technology than us, better ships, better weapons. Why don't they just cure it? Kyung-mi glanced at him. Taejun was young, maybe 20. He had probably been a student before the attack. Because, she explained, we're using their own weapon against them. Dr. Yunho modified the virus they used on us. The Kavari can't cure it because they designed it to be uncurable. Taejun was quiet for a moment, thinking about this. So they made a weapon that's now killing them. That's almost like justice. It's survival, Kyung-mi corrected him. Nothing more, nothing less. In the deep black of space, the ship Phoenix continued its journey. It had been traveling for 7 weeks. The Kavari colony world was still 2 weeks away. Captain Young-Ho Park sat in his quarters looking at a small photo of his family. His wife, his 2 children, all dead now, killed in the first wave of the Kavari attack. A knock on his door pulled him from his thoughts. "Enter," he called. Dr. Young-Mi Shin stepped in. She was the ship's medical officer and the one responsible for the bioweapon they carried. "The latest test results are good," she said. "The virus is stable. It will work. When we reach the colony," Young-Ho nodded. "And the delivery system?" "Also ready. Once we're in orbit, we can release it into the atmosphere. It will take about 3 days to spread to the entire population." Young-Ho put the photo down. "How many Kavari are on that planet?" "According to the information we found in their databases, on Earth about 12 million. 12 million lives. Men, women, children. Did the Kavari even have children?" Young-Ho didn't know. He had never thought to ask. All he knew was that they were the enemy, and they had tried to wipe out humanity. "Are you having doubts, Captain?" Young-Mi asked, watching his face. Young-Ho looked at her. "Aren't you? We're about to kill 12 million beings." "They killed 6 billion of us," she reminded him. "And they're still killing more every day." "I know," Young-Ho sighed. "I'm not saying we shouldn't do it, I'm just acknowledging what we're becoming." Young-Mi's face softened slightly. "We're becoming survivors, Captain. Nothing more, nothing less." It was the same thing Major Kyung-Mi had said to her young soldier. The same thing humans all over Earth were telling themselves as they fought back against the Kavari with methods they would have called war crimes just a year ago. "Survivors," Young-Ho repeated. He picked up the photo again, looked at his dead family. "Yes, that's what matters now." As the Phoenix continued its journey through the darkness of space, Young-Ho made himself a promise. He would complete this mission. He would release the bioweapon. He would kill 12 million Kavari. And he would not let himself feel guilty about it, because this was the turning point of the war. This was where humanity showed the Kavari and the galaxy what happened when a civilized species was pushed too far. This was Earth's reply to genocide. 2 years had passed since the Kavari attack on Earth. 2 years of brutal, merciless fighting. 2 years of humans abandoning every rule of war they had ever made. Admiral Taewon Park stood on the bridge of the Retribution. It was not a human ship. It was a Kavari flagship that humans had captured 6 months ago. The aliens' own technology turned against them. Outside the viewports, Earth looked both familiar and strange. The blue oceans were still there, but many coastal cities were gone. The green lands were patched with brown dead zones where the worst fighting had happened. This was not the Earth of before, but it was still humanity's home. "Status report," Taewon said to Colonel Daejung-yoon, who stood beside him. "The last Kavari ships are retreating," Daejung said. There was no joy in his voice, just tiredness. "Our forces have taken their final base in what was once Australia. Earth is clear of enemy forces." Taewon nodded. He should feel happy. They had won. Humanity had survived. But he felt hollow inside. "And the colonies?" he asked. "All 3 Kavari." "Colony worlds have gone silent," Daejung reported. "No transmissions for the past month. The bioweapon worked." Taewon closed his eyes briefly. 3 planets. Millions of Kavari, all dead. Add that to the millions they had killed on Earth. They had done to the Kavari what the Kavari had tried to do to them. They had committed genocide. "Sir," called Lieutenant Min-ji from her station. "We're receiving a transmission. It's from the Kavari Supreme Council." Taewon straightened his shoulders. "Put it through." The main screen lit up. 3 Kavari appeared. They wore elaborate robes, different from the simple suits the military Kavari wore. These were their leaders, the ones who had ordered the attack on Earth. "Humans," said the middle Kavari. Its voice was translated by the ship's computers. "We wish to discuss terms for peace." Taewon stared at the screen. "Peace?" After everything you've done? The conflict has gone too far, the Kavari leader said. Both our species have suffered greatly. It is time to end this. Dr. Su-min Lee stepped forward. She had survived the initial attack but had been captured by the Kavari early in the war. They had experimented on her for months before humans had rescued her. Her body was covered in scars and one of her eyes was now a cybernetic replacement. "They're afraid," she said, looking at the aliens on the screen. "They never expected us to fight back like this. They never expected us to target their home worlds. We are prepared to recognize Earth's sovereignty," the Kavari leader continued, "to withdraw all forces from your solar system, to offer reparations for the damage caused." The bridge was silent. 2 years ago, such an offer would have been celebrated. It would have been exactly what humanity wanted: peace, recognition, a chance to rebuild. But that was before 6 billion humans had died, before the survivors had transformed themselves into something new, something ruthless, before humanity had tasted revenge. Colonel Daijung looked at Taewan. "They expect us to be magnanimous in victory," he said quietly, "to show the mercy they never showed us. They're still thinking like civilized beings," added Dr. Su-min. "They still don't understand what they turned us into." Taewan nodded, slowly. He stepped closer to the screen. "You attempted to eradicate my species," he said to the Kavari leaders. His voice was calm, almost conversational. "You believed we would die with dignity, according to some cosmic rules of fair play." He paused, looking at each of the alien leaders in turn. "But when faced with extinction, we abandoned civilization's restraints. And now we have your bioweapon technology, your faster-than-light capabilities, and most importantly," he leaned closer to the screen, "we have your star charts with the location of your homeworld." The Kavari leader's facial tentacles trembled. It was fear. Taiwan had learned to recognize it over the past 2 years. What are you saying?" the Kavari asked. "I'm saying there will be no peace," Taiwan replied simply. "There will be no terms. What you began, we will finish." But we're offering surrender," protested another of the Kavari leaders. "We're offering to end this conflict." "The time for that was 2 years ago," Taiwan said. "Before you killed 6 billion of my people, now it's too late." He turned to Lieutenant Minji. "Cut the transmission." The screen went dark. The bridge was silent again. "Sir," Daijung said finally, "are you sure about this? They're offering us peace." Taewan looked at his old friend. "Do you remember your family, Daejung? Your wife, your son?" Pain flashed across Daejung's face. "Of course I do. And you, Su-min, do you remember the pain of their experiments? How they treated you like an animal?" Su-min touched the scars on her face. "Every day." "That's why there can be no peace," Taewan said. "Not now. Not after everything they've done. Not after everything we've become." He turned to face the whole bridge crew. "Humanity entered this war as a civilized species with rules and moral codes. Those things are luxuries of peace. In war, especially this kind of war, they became weaknesses." He gestured to the view screen now showing the stars. "The Kavari forced us to choose between civilization and survival. We chose survival, and now we must follow that choice to its end." "To their extinction," Daejung said quietly. "Yes." Taewan's face was set, determined. "Set course for the Kavari homeworld. Prepare all weapons. This ends when they are gone, just as they planned for us to be gone." As the crew moved to follow his orders, Taewan returned to the viewport. He stared out at Earth, remembering what it had been before, remembering the person he had been before. That Earth was gone. That person was gone. In their place was something harder, colder, more determined to survive at any cost. Some would call them monsters now. Perhaps they were. But they were alive monsters, and soon the Kavari would be nothing at all. 3 months later, Taewan stood on the bridge again. Before him on the view screen was a blue-green planet. larger than Earth but similar in many ways. The Kavari homeworld. All ships in position, reported Lieutenant Minji. The bioweapon delivery systems are ready. Earth's fleet, a mix of captured Kavari ships and human vessels built using alien technology, surrounded the planet. The Kavari had tried to fight them off, but their military had been spread too thin, trying to deal with the unexpected human counterattack. They had never imagined that the primitive humans would reach their homeworld. Any final transmissions from the planet? Taiwan asked. They're begging, Daijung said. Offering complete surrender, offering anything we want. Taiwan nodded. Just as we begged 2 years ago, did they listen then? No one answered. They all knew the answer. Launch the bioweapon, Taiwan ordered. Across the fleet, ships released their deadly cargo into the Kavari atmosphere. In days, every Kavari on the planet would be dead. The species that had tried to wipe out humanity would itself be wiped out. Taiwan watched silently. He felt no joy, no satisfaction, not even anger anymore. He felt nothing at all. That, perhaps, was the greatest change the war had brought to humanity. Not just the willingness to commit genocide, but the emptiness that came after. As the fleet turned away from the doomed planet, Daejung came to stand beside him. What now? He asked quietly. When this is finished, when they're all gone, what happens to us? To what we've become? Taiwan had asked himself the same question many times. Could humanity ever go back to what it was before? Could they rebuild? Not just their cities, but their moral codes, their sense of right and wrong? I don't know, he admitted. Maybe we build something new. Maybe we remember this, all of it, as a warning. A warning of what? Of what happens when civilization meets something that doesn't care about being civilized. Of what any species will become when pushed to the edge of extinction. Taiwan turned to face his friend. And a warning to the rest of the galaxy, if there are others out there watching. What warning is that? That humans are peaceful until they're not. That we play by the rules until someone breaks them. And then, Taiwan looked back at the Kavari world growing smaller behind them. Then we stopped playing civilized altogether. Ship entered faster than light travel, leaving the dying world behind. Ahead lay Earth and the hard task of rebuilding, of figuring out what humanity would become next. They had survived. That was what mattered. But the cost of survival would echo through human history forever. The end.